Good afternoon, everyone. It is afternoon, isn't it? I always get my timings mixed up. Good afternoon, everyone. It's nice to see you all coming to these sessions. We try to run these sessions every year, and we'll be running another one to do with the end of year on payroll. But we thought that it was useful to start this off with a Payday Super one because there are some changes that you need to make in your data to do with Payday Super, and we just thought it would be useful to start this off now so that you can be a little bit more comfortable with it. I'll just wait a little bit longer because I'm not quite sure how many more people we're expecting. And it is right on the start time. So I'll just keep checking that. Let me put that on my other screen. Let me see. Okay. Oh, I think we might be good to go. So this is a guide, and I do have to read the disclaimer at the bottom of the screen. This information, the information in this webinar is generic in nature and may not refer to your specific requirements. If you have any specific requirements, you should check with ATO or Fair Work Commission. I will now through some of the slides. So today's agenda is that we'll do some introductions, which we're doing right now. Then we'll let you understand Payday Super, and then we'll dive into the system and then talk about what your next steps are. Of course, I don't do this by myself. I am really strongly assisted by both Tonya Sey, who is MYOB EXO and MYOB Acumatica certified for payroll, and Louise Mulqueen, who is also certified for the MYOB Acumatica platform. And basically, I couldn't do this without them. So you need to know that too. Okay, so if we talk about Payday Super, and I'll pass on to Tonya to start off because Tonya's done some of this work. So let's go to you.
Lovely, thank you. And I will just also, sorry, Di, but everyone is on mute. So we will take you off mute at the end for questions. But if you do have any questions throughout, please raise your hand or put your question into the chat and we'll be monitoring that as we go along. Now, we did have a Payday webinar last year. So some of these slides will be familiar, but just to recap, and I'm sure you've all heard Payday Super, what is it? It did pass law last year. Its purpose is to provide the benefit to the superannuation balances of employees. So paying the superannuation into their account sooner, they get the benefit of the interest on that super. What it does is it impacts the timing of those payments. For the employees, as we said, they get the superannuation more frequently. It also therefore impacts the timing of the payments to the employers. The result being that it'll increase those super interest, increase hopefully the super balances for the employees. The other part of the superannuation Payday Super legislation was that it will increasing the compliance requirements on employers for those superannuation payments. So the government's trying to just bring down that timeline, reduce the risk of businesses not paying those superannuation payments to the employee super funds. So there's changes to the penalties for non-compliance. All of this is starting from 1st of July 2026, so in a couple of months.
Couple of months or less, 1.5 months.
Yep. Okay, so what is changing? And again, we're just summarising around what is happening now. So now superannuation is calculated on ordinary time earnings. From 1 July, it'll be calculated on qualified earnings, and we will talk about those. At the moment, superannuation must be paid within 28 days of the end of the quarter. A lot of people do pay monthly. From 1 July, super must be received by your employee super fund, and actually that should be paid into their super account within 7 business days of the payroll payment event. So 7 business days of you submitting to the ATO to say you've paid the payroll. Some exceptions do apply, but generally that's the rule. At the moment, clearinghouses have 20 business days to process your superannuation payment and put it into their employee's superannuation account. From 1 July, they will have 3 business days to process the super payment into the super account. The reason the 3 days versus the 7 days, you pay the super to your clearinghouse. They have 3 days to either deposit it into the employee's super account, or refund it back to you if there's a problem. That gives you extra time to correct whatever that problem may be and pay it again, should you need to make sure it actually hits your employee's account in the 7 business days. So it's not just that you've paid it in 7 days, it's got to be in their account. That is the big difference there. Jump slides, please, Di. Okay, so again, just reiterating, super payments must now be received by your employee's super account within 7 business days. And the exception there is for new employees, you do have 20 business days to ensure their first super payment is deposited into their account, and thereafter they're in the 7 days as well. So hopefully, and we'll talk about this as well, as part of your onboarding process for your employees, grab that information up front. But you've got a bit of time up your sleeve if you need to chase some information there. Okay. So the 7 business days includes the correction for any super payments, as I said before. So if there are any problems, you've got that 7 days to do the initial submission, to which the clearinghouse could take 1 to 3 days to deposit it. If there's a query and it doesn't actually make it there, it gets sent back, you're cutting into those 7 days. The 7 days does not restart. So make sure, again, as part of the onboarding of new employees, but also transitioning to Payday Super, make sure your information is correct now. Check it all. Start now if you're not already, using the system, making sure that the information, the super funds, the member IDs, all of that is accurate at this point in time, and using that to reduce the risk of there being errors in the first instance. And so just reiterating there, your superannuation clearing houses, their time frame has reduced as well. So they need to be making sure they're communicating with you within 3 business days. What we haven't put on there is that they've also been tasked by the government to make their error messages a lot more clearer. Now, what that actually means, what you'll actually see, no idea, but that's supposed to be happening as well. The gist of it being, pay your superannuation on the day you pay your wages, hence Payday Super. So even though you might pay on a Monday, yes, you've got 7 days to get it to their super account, you might decide to wait till Wednesday, Thursday, you're running the risk. Pay your pay run, then go and do your superannuation straight away. Make sure that they're being done and give yourself the most amount of time. Okay. Just some other changes. So Payday Super is all about the timing. Yes, you've got to pay the superannuation now on Payday Super. It's got to get there quicker. There is also the concept of qualified earnings. So the government has changed what you calculate superannuation on. And for most people, you won't see a difference there. But the phrasing now is qualified earnings. So as part of the STP lodgements to the ATO that you do with every pay run, you now need to be reporting what are the qualified earnings. So each application that does payroll does need to have a change so that the data they're sending through to the ATO includes the value for qualified earnings. It does also mean that there's an application change for you to identify what are qualified earnings. So compliance is expected from the 1st of July. For those with Acumatica, we're already going through an upgrade process. Some of you may have already been upgraded. We'll talk about that later. There is a, through May and June is the compliance version. And for those that you were upgraded in February, March, or April, you'll have another upgrade in June to make sure you're on that compliance release for 1 July. On saying all of that, the ATO is really letting people know at the moment, and to all the software vendors, I know that they're sort of pushing this, that there's a compliance grace period that the ATO have indicated for up to 12 months. So yes, you have to be compliant. Yes, you've got to be doing your best that you can to make sure that you are compliant. The ATO are really going to be working through look, if the business is doing the best that they can and everything's being done in good faith, it'll be informative in terms of any compliance issues. They'll be letting you know, okay, this is where you fell short, as opposed to coming down hard and applying the new charges that they'll have. But
And-
on saying that, yeah.
And you do talk about the compliance charges or the penalties later on?
Well, actually, we did that in the last webinars, and we wanted to focus this one more on what are qualified earnings,
yeah.
and what the system is, with system changes, rather than what the failure to comply, because all of our clients will be up and doing it properly, I'm sure. So
that's what we want, isn't it? That everyone's up on top of everything and not having to deal with the compliance issues.
Absolutely. But I think that's probably the other thing is that before, and we don't have it in this slide, but to be aware, previously in terms of your compliance, you had to nominate yourself to the ATO to say, hey, sorry, I wasn't compliant. Oops, bad me. Can you please send me a fine, a charge? You don't get that say anymore, because I know a lot of people didn't bother telling the ATO, and why would you if you had the choice? It's part of the system now. So if you're not compliant, the ATO will know and they will come after you, as opposed to you having to nominate. So that is a key thing. On top of that, the charges are higher. So again, it used to be a certain calculation, the penalties increased. But again, it has, absolutely. But definitely acting in good faith, and you've got the time period to get the processes happening. Okay. So what are qualified earnings? Now, I've got to admit, we've got one slide on this because it's a really big thing to be aware of. You'll see there, actually, our little image is cutting off that URL. We have to adjust that for you and perhaps redo the PDF there. But qualified earnings are essentially ordinary time earnings for the bulk of it. So you can see in there, it includes ordinary time earnings. But it also includes commissions, which previously weren't always ordinary time earnings, depending on how what the commission was for. So there's certain things that previously you didn't have to pay superannuation on, and now you may need to. And there are also instances where previously certain contractors, they're not traditional employees, that you may not have needed to have calculated superannuation on, now you do. So because of those intricacies, we're really sort of saying, we're not going to give you just a list and go here, tick, 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 this is what it's all about. You do need to have a look at your situation. You need to have a look at your setup of your pay items, possibly even your agreements with your employees or the awards, and make that decision. Now, that web address there, that is where the ATO has got, for the standard pay items, this is what's OTE, ordinary time earnings, yes or no. This is what's qualified earnings, yes or no. So it literally says, salaries, ordinary time earnings, yes. Qualified earnings, yes. Overtime, ordinary times earnings, yes. Except for qualified earnings, yes. So it's literally doing that comparison on the main things that most businesses would have in their pay run. And that commissions is one where it's, no, it may not have been ordinary time earnings, but yes, it is now qualified earnings. So have a look at that website in the first instance. But please, if there's anything in there that in your system that is not standard, that's a little bit different, you're unsure, you can come to us, but we are not tax agents. So we will be, if we can't find the information readily on standard ATO website, we will be pointing you to contact the ATO or your tax agent. I did originally because Louise was preparing these slides for us, and I did give her a link to the Law Companion document, 200 pages, which explains what qualified earnings actually happens to be. So it's quite an in-depth thing. It's a really good document if you feel like reading it. It does go into a lot of detail of what things are. But yeah, start with the other web link that we've got there.
Too big to put on one slide.
Yeah. And also we didn't want to put on a slide and say, this is what it is, because it may not be for your business. You really do need to double check. We don't want to be giving you, the wrong indication of something, and therefore you're not compliant as a result. So yeah, that's qualified earnings. That's what we've got to say to it. Keeping an eye. There's no questions so far on that particular topic.
I'm keeping an eye on it.
Yeah. we'll jump over to the next slide. I am flying through these. So the other thing which we've talked about, the superannuation clearinghouse, some other changes there. So they're changing the SuperStream data. That's what the government's made. All the clearinghouses need to update and take on this new data process that they're doing. It's meaning the communication is going to be faster, the processing times are faster, and the improved error messaging. It doesn't really impact us. That's what the clearinghouses are doing. But just, again, to make sure you're meeting your 7-day timeline, they've got requirements on them as well. And again, just that refunding the money if there's any problems. The other thing, which I know we've spoken to a number of clients so far, you will have received information if you have previously been using the ATO as your small business superannuation clearinghouse. They are closing 30 June, closing, not like they will not do it anymore. You could still log in. They are cutting off access. So if you are using the ATO Small Business Clearinghouse at the moment, you need to find another clearinghouse. If you're using MYOB Acumatica, MYOB have a clearinghouse feature, MYOB Pay Super. It is part of your Acumatica subscription. It's included. So that is an option for you. Some other people, for various reasons, have looked at other external clearinghouses. That's absolutely fine, but you have to find something other than the ATO. And if you have been using the ATO, please log on before 30 June and extract as much information as you can that you may think you'll need, because you won't be able to get it afterwards. Get a list of your employees, get a list of all of their superannuation funds, their member IDs. That should already be in your payroll system anyway. Go through and get a list of what the superannuation amounts that you've paid if you can, but just, you're not going to have access after 30 June. So get as much as you can out of that system before you lose access to it. So it's big.
We'll still have the two methods of either uploading a SAF file or uploading a SAF file or using the MYOB Pay Super. So you've got the two options. Still. Absolutely.
So Louise will be going through the application, and that still is definitely current functionality, and it will continue to be a standard functionality after 1 July. You can utilise the option, create an export file out of Acumatica or MYOB Exo, but Acumatica, and can upload that to Clearinghouse, and for the or the Pay Super. Yeah, there'll be the two options. Okay. All right, speaking of, we'll hand over to Louise, who will take you through the, this is all about MYOB Acumatica, the changes in the application that we're expecting to see. As I said, some of you may have already been having upgrades, that you may start to see some of these changes in the screens, but just to explain what's happening. Thank you, Louise.
So we're going to just talk about the system readiness and the version that you may have at the moment, and what parts may be updating coming with the coming upgrades. So for meeting the deadlines of the super payments, the superannuation must be paid at the same time as wages. You actually don't need any upgrade for that. The current software that you have, you can start using, if you're not already using, the superannuation batch paying, batch process for that. And we have clients already starting to do this on a per pay basis. So using the existing superannuation batch processing, but running it more frequently. For the STP reporting changes, which for the ATO basically means the qualified earnings needs to be part of the STP file that they're sending. So it's basically something you don't really see per se. You will need to be upgraded to 25.1.5 or 25.2.1, which are the April-May upgrades. So some of those already have occurred. And then the next step is for the SuperStream, the SAF reporting. There's no changes to the SAF format or the SuperStream format. So once again, there's no upgrade required for that. So far, the only upgrade you require is just for the STP reporting side of it. For MYOB Pay Super, which is one of the clearinghouse options for you if you are considering moving to a different clearinghouse, the Payday MYOB Pay Super, as Tonya mentioned, is part of the MYOB subscription, so there's no additional charges, administrative charges for that. And it currently works fine with sending a superannuation batch directly to Pay Super. At the moment, it only handles a single entity, which for those of you who are using it are in that scenario. For clients who are running multi-entity, multi-ABNs in the one tenant, we've never had the functionality of being able to do that via Pay Super, but it is coming. So in version 25.2.2, we expect that that's going to come sometime after the June upgrades. We've actually haven't updated this slide. We're finding out tomorrow actually that they're expecting that change actually to happen in about August. But that's just for multi-entity clients who wish to pay to MYOB Pay Super. So just in a nutshell, the STP reporting, which is what you need the upgrade for, that is being installed April, May and June. And the June ones are mainly for the people who may have had the upgrades prior to April. I think I've got that right, Tom?
Yep.
All right, STP reporting, upgrades April and May and June, looking towards the 25.2 or the 25.1. Thank you. Now, once you've had your upgrade, what is that going to look like in the program? Under the payroll liabilities section, where we link up all of the pay items to whether or not they've got gross earnings or work cover, or in particular liable for superannuation, we now have a new column called liable for qualified earnings. And as you can see on the little screenshot I've given you, there's a little tick. So it is possible for things to be ticked liable for superannuation, and I think I may be saying this wrong, it can be ticked for qualified earnings and not ticked for liable for superannuation or Vicky Verka.
Yeah.
I'm getting myself confused here. So once again, why we've been referring you back to those lovely big notes from the ATO and from the Law Institute to get that ruling correct, to understand what that correct classification is. So just like we did this way back when on the ATO categories with the STP categories, we need to understand what our pay item is, what should the correct ATO category be for STP, and whether or not it is subject to qualified earnings.
Right. And Louise, if I'm correct, when people get the upgrade, pretty much everything that's liable for superannuation will be ticked as liable for qualified earnings. I believe it's coming out pre-ticked. So people should check it once they've upgraded, but by default, everything will come out pre-ticked.
Yeah. So if you've already had your upgrade, you should have this on your screen already. So there's nothing stopping you from starting and getting these all set up now ahead of time. All that's going to happen is as soon as the 1st of July time period rolls over, that's when the actual STP files will be sending with that format. But until then, there's nothing wrong with getting all prepared and set up for it.
And so, Louise, that's for payments that are made on or after the 1st of July.
Correct.
Which is in the new financial year. So if you're looking for this screen and you've never been on this screen before, just use your search button at the top of the screen and type in the words pay item liabilities, and it will take you to the screen for you.
Thank you. All right, so for superannuation, if you're going to look at the pay item for superannuation, On the pay item itself, there is a threshold, which is currently in our current financial year, it's a quarterly threshold that is changed. And once we move to the 1st of July, it becomes an annual threshold. You don't actually have to do anything. The system is smart enough that it knows the date. And once the first pay is ready to go for the 1st of July, it will actually change the program in the background to actually change that threshold automatically for you if that threshold is switched on. So I'll just pepper that with, if your pay superannuation threshold has been switched off, you will need to check this yourself. It is not something that MYOB will switch back on if you've historically switched it off. And the only reason people would generally switch it off is perhaps for some of the larger wage earners where as an employer you weren't paying attention to those thresholds, and so you may have purposely switched it off. But for the general populace of employees, the threshold is normally on, and thus the automated switching for the 1st of July to an annual threshold rather than a quarterly threshold will occur. So make sure you cross-check whether or not that threshold is on or off for yourself.
So just to confirm, that is on the pay item. So on the
Thank you.
pay item screen, you need to go to the pay item, which is called Super Guarantee, and you just need to confirm what that maximum threshold looks like.
Thank you. For superannuation batching, so I spoke about the fact that the program currently is ready for you to be able to be doing Payday Super, because it is simply that you're going to run a superannuation batch more frequently than what you've been doing either quarterly or monthly. So the normal process for superannuation batch processing is that we go to the menu item, create superannuation batch. And historically, you may have picked a time period and used a quarter or a month, and then the system would have selected all of the pays that occurred in that date range. So the fields are there that you can leave the period as custom, and then you can nominate a pay run number from and to being the pay run that you've done for that week. So I'll just mention also that you can, of course, in the initial stages, sometimes you may have a pay run that's done in a week, and then you may have an additional secondary pay run. Maybe you're terminating someone, or you may even do an adjustment pay, and that may all still be in that, let's say, week. So it's up to you whether or not you run a superannuation batch for each and every pay run, or you can, of course, do a pay run from run number 1 through to run number 5, and it will take that group of pay runs together. So that's available now. You can start doing it now, paying by month, by pay. That's up to you, but the system is ready for you to do that. Thank you. Still on that note, for the superannuation batches, we do have an additional tab now that's available on this screen. When you're looking at it, there is an adjusted contributions. So on the normal contributions tab would be all of the normal wage contributions, be it SG Super or personal voluntary or salary sacrifice contributions. But if you have done any pay adjustments during that pay run time frame, the adjustments will show separately on this tab so that you can easily see, here's the negative adjustment that's gone through and here's the positive. So it just makes it a little bit easier to quickly identify that any of the adjustments that you've done have gone through appropriately.
So Louise, in this case on this screen, we've got from pay and from pay run and to pay run as being 1546, but
Yep.
this has also gathered up those adjustment pays that we've done as well.
That's correct. So it's aware that may have been adjustments relating to that pay. Yes.
So,
and
so when we're actually creating the batch, we don't actually have to think about, oh my gosh, did I do an adjustment pay batch? Do I need to think about that as well? It'll just collect it all together.
Correct. Yes.
And so just with that, in that particular example we've got there, the overall effect of this adjustment has reduced the amount of superannuation that we have for that employee. And of course, we can't take money out of their super fund. So that may have a need to sit there until you're doing your next pay run where you have a positive payment to that employee. And what you can actually do is you tick those adjustments and say, yep, I want to include these. You push the add selected adjustments button and that includes it onto that contributions tab. So that, yes, you can include that negative. Just with that, and I will, sorry, Louise, taking control there, but the government has said that if you are having to do a correction to a pay, you can include it in your next normal cycle of pay run. So yes, if you're doing a termination, well, that would need to be included as a normal thing, you know, do your pay run, pay the super. But if you're doing an adjustment, a correction, the ATO has said you can wait and include that in your next weekly or fortnightly pay process and include it in that super.
Which is good. So then you don't have to worry about it. Okay.
Thank you. Also on the STP submissions, there is an additional superannuation tab specifically that is available there as well. Not that we tend to or look at this regularly, but it is there if you need to check any of the details as well.
So yeah, so it'll include the queue for qualified earnings now in terms of that amount that it needs to submit.
I didn't point that out. Yes, so it's got a type column. It's a bit blurry, the screen. Sorry, I had to steal this screenshot from MYOB. So there is a column that says the type R, L or Q. So the qualified earnings is there. Yep. So the
so there's two questions, Louise. Do you want to actually
yes.
So yes, the tab is added during the upgrade. So when you get the upgrade, you'll see that tab when you pay your first superannuation after the upgrade. And if you're not seeing it now, then you will see it when we do the next upgrade, and Ben will tell you when that next upgrade is happening. And if we generate superannuation payments with each pay now, will there be an issue with STP reporting? Oh no. So the qualified earnings with STP only comes in after July. So the first pay after July is when we need to have this done by. But if you get an upgrade, you can start recording it, but it will not be pushed to the ATO until after the 1st of July.
Yep.
I hope that answers that question, Karen.
And you can be running your super payments as frequently as you wish, and that does not impact the STP reporting at all. So in a nutshell, we've covered off that the upgrades that have been occurring during April and May and June will cover you for being STP compliant with the ATO, with the qualified earnings. As far as actually physically paying your superannuation in a timely manner, there is nothing stopping you from using the superannuation batching process from today onwards. So if you haven't been using the superannuation batching before, and what other preparation should you be doing? So we're just giving you some lists, some action steps here that you should be looking at, because it's going to be even more critical that we no longer have that 3-month window of being able to get our superannuation information correct. So we've got the action steps here to ask you just to go through, if you like, give yourself a bit of an audit and start checking various pieces of data in your system. So obviously employment statuses, the pay items that people are being paid in their standard pay, making sure that we've got super fund and member ID information and that those super funds are validated. We have numerous phone calls during the year where people have suddenly started using batching superannuation across to a clearinghouse with an imported CSV file or SAF file, and suddenly we find out that the super fund we've got on our payroll is not the same as what we've been manually entered in the super clearinghouse. So making sure that our payroll system is up to date and using validated super funds is extremely important. Tax file numbers and contact details, of course, should also be cross-checked.
And so really the people that are using some other method to actually update their superannuation or manually update superannuation, whether it be the ATO platform or whether it be manually just going on to, say, the Australian super site, they really need to check this, don't they, Louise?
Yes, yeah, that's
Okay.
correct. Thanks. So moving on to step 2. So on the program, what we're wanting you to do is check the pay items themselves. So updating the pay item liabilities area, which are the same area that we were talking about for the qualified earnings, making sure that, you know, is overtime superannuationable or not? Are certain allowances subject to superannuation? All of those. So it's always good to check that, especially in case you've had any changes to your awards as well. We've also got, of course, the ATO STP categories, and a reminder that allowances have 16 different categories of STPs. A lot of people still haven't got those, let's say, tool allowances or car allowances, kilometre allowances correctly flagged. So making sure you cross-check all of those. And of course, whilst you're in there, you're going to be cross-checking and updating the qualified earnings flags that you'll see once you've had your upgrade loaded. Thank you. With the super funds data and the clearinghouse submissions, on the super fund detail screen within Acumatica, we actually have a validation button that it will go off to the APRA website and will validate. And it knows within 1 to 2 days of a fund not being valid, the MYOB program knows it immediately. We've seen that repeatedly for some personal self-managed super funds suddenly not validating. So making sure that you run that frequently. We encourage you to actually run it every time you prepare a superannuation batch. Part of that process, of course, you will make sure that you're using the correct USI ID. And of course, if there's been any merged funds, which haven't occurred quite as much lately, but if they occur, there's actually a merge super funds button that you can push within that as well. And that will update all of the employees who are currently on our outgoing super fund, and we'll move them to the new one. So that reduces maintenance as well. And we handle self-managed super funds, not a problem. So checking all of those are correct and up to date is good.
Sorry.
Thank you. And checking how you are actually uploading your information to your clearinghouse. Clearinghouses are being forced to accept the SuperStream format, sometimes known as the SAF format. A lot of them may still have you uploading what's known as a CSV file. It's similar, but they may have a separate section. I know certainly we had that with the, I think it was the Australian Super, Quick Super website, where there is a separate setting, loading a CSV file versus a SAF file format. So just investigate that in your clearinghouse and make sure that you start using that. Rather than doing any manual entry of information. And really that just is a big time saver, especially when you're going to be doing it weekly or fortnightly. So if you haven't been using the superannuation batching process up until now, definitely start doing it. no need to wait until the 1st of July. Start doing it now, even if you're just doing it on a monthly basis, just so that you can get used to it. And yeah, save yourself a bit of legwork at the other end with the super clearinghouse. With the Payday Super, of course, the big impact, not only is it going to be impacting your cash flow from a business perspective, that you're spending that money now instead of holding on to it for 3 months. The other part of a potential issue with the clearinghouses is that with a clearinghouse, you normally have a authorised limit, just like you have limits with your bank. You might have a limit where you say that you will authorise up to, say, $25,000. And we've already highlighted or earmarked a potential problem in that in June/early July, when you're going to be paying your last quarter of superannuation for April, May and June, which may equate to the $25,000 or whatever your limit may be, then you're going to start immediately paying your July weekly or fortnightly amounts. So that may push you over the limit that you currently have with your clearinghouse. So really what we want you to do is make sure that you visit your clearinghouse, double check what your clearance is, and making sure that if you need to up it for that time frame, that you've got enough clearance for the April to June payment, as well as what's going to be happening for your July payments as you begin to process them. Finally, can you start paying your superannuation more frequently? Yes, you can do that now, and we've already had clients do that, say, for the last 2 to 3 months, doing it quite successfully. Thank you. Okay, I think that's a double up on my slide, but just once again, the Payday Super clearinghouse, you need to go and make sure that you've got enough clearance for your authorisers for the superannuation to go through. Sorry, that's a double up. I obviously wanted to share that information twice. It's so important. So changing superannuation fund clearinghouse. Now, Tonya did mention before that we do have a clearinghouse that is attached to MYOB itself, and it is a clearinghouse that is, the cost of it is part of your software subscription. So that being said, there is no administration fees, which you may or may not be paying administration fees with your other clearinghouses. But the reason we're mentioning Pay Super is that with Payday Super, because you're doing it more frequently, it behaves, the way MYOB Pay Super behaves is it is a bit like the integration that we currently have with the ATO. When you complete your pay run, that little pop-up comes up and says, do you want to send that information to the ATO? And you sign it off. If you are using the MYOB Pay Super clearinghouse, you have a similar pop-up that once you've prepared the superannuation batch, it will immediately send it to Payday Super. Thus, you're not needing to open up a clearinghouse website and then import it and those sorts of things. It's a nice integrated send to the superannuation clearinghouse. And Payday Super do the payment arrangements with you via direct debit. So there's no separate payment for you or the finance people to arrange. So you may like that or not, but that just means there's a little bit less work. I think the main thing is that if things that we do only once every 3 months, we don't mind being a bit manual, but when we have to start doing it weekly, you know, sometimes 2 times a week, whatever it may be, that's when we want to start streamlining the processes that we do. If you're interested in switching to MYOB Pay Super, you can do this at any time. You don't need to do it particularly for the 1st of July. In fact, if you're not with MYOB Pay Super, you might even decide to wait until August, September before you switch across. But either way, any time is a good time. And if you are doing, have multiple entities within your tenant, unfortunately, historically, we've not been able to offer you Pay Super simply because there was a limitation with multi-entities. But that is coming, and we estimate that that will be a feature that we can switch you over to, should you wish to, in about August of 2026. But we'll be in touch about that for those clients who have multiple entities. Thank you. Looks like a final slide.
Not quite.
Not quite.
Not quite.
So if you've got any questions, please reach out to us at the help desk at acacia.com.au. The webinar that you've watched today will be on our website. We will have the ATO link, that we spoke about for the OTE and qualifying references. We'll also have the link to the web for the legal, the law site. Sorry, I've forgotten that. We'll also have the PDF of this slideshow for you. And if there's any more information that you'd like to know about employee self-service, doing leave requests, employee onboarding, which is, I think, even going to become even more important because it's so critical that we have all of our superannuation and ATO onboarding information critically and timely in our systems, timesheet importing, public holiday processing and more, please reach out to us. We're always happy to talk about whatever your needs or problems may be.
And just going back to superannuation funds merging, Karen's made an interesting comment, which is exactly that when you do validate your batch, it's amazing. The employee didn't know that his super fund had merged, but
Yes.
when Karen went to do the payment of the super, it actually, and she validated, it actually said, hold on, this is no longer valid. I actually use a platform called Click Super, and in Click Super they actually have which I'll give you the details, I'll send it out with this. They actually have a really strong list of all the super funds that have merged. So it means you don't have to go off to the super fund to find out who they've merged with. I mean, they really should be advising you, shouldn't they? But they don't.
But the employees forget to tell us.
Well, but, you know, as an employer, all of you are submitting superannuation batches with your employer details and with your name embedded in that file. So realistically, if you're lodging something with a super fund, they should actually be advising you that, hey, guess what, we've merged. That's my feeling. But super funds are not known for their administration or their ability to actually record that sort of information. So the other thing that we also have is we will also be doing a end of financial year course, which will be running on the Wednesday, the 17th of June. So if you're using any of the applications we use, we'll actually take you through that whole process of doing the finalisation, the reconciliation process and the finalisation of STP. And so save the date, pop it in your calendar. Of course, we'll be sending you out the ability for you to register and actually come and join us again. We love seeing all your sunny faces, or not cameras on, but you know, whatever. We do like having people attending these sessions, and we do spend a bit of time putting them together. And one other item that I'd like to mention is Discover Live. MYOB are running Discover Live sessions such that you can find out about more features and functions that are available in Acumatica. Now, it's a little bit late for you to attend. Well, no, I think you can still register for tomorrow. It's on tomorrow at Ridges, Melbourne in Exhibition Street. I'll be there. Tonya will be there and Ben will be there. So that if you actually do want to catch up with us in person and give us a hug, because that's what we really want, isn't it, Tonya? Then, yep. Then you can pop along, register now. It should be on the bottom of most of our signatures for the last month. Or maybe you need to go to the session in Auckland and have a holiday as well. Either or. It'll be a tax deduction, I'm sure. Although that's tax advice and we aren't allowed to give you that advice. So just keep that information in mind as well. So that's virtually it. I will send you that link. I'll get Payroll. Payroll's online at the moment with us as well. So I'll get Payroll that link that actually gives you the list of all the super funds that have changed in the last 12 months or even longer, and what USI they've gone from and what USI they're going to. It's just a really handy resource to have available to you. if there are any other questions, pop them in the chat, or if you've got something that's a bit tricky that you don't want to have to type forever, just raise your hand and we'll take you off mute so that we can actually have a chat with you as well. Or put in the messaging chat, I want to go offline.
Yep.
Now I just have to figure out how to do that. Let me just get there.
LW?
Yep. I can't unmute her. Payroll, are you able to undo that?
I'm just checking that 1 second.
Thanks, Payroll.
Have I just done that myself?
Yes,
I think you
Yes,
have.
yeah.
How about
Yes,
that?
you can.
Thanks,
Yes.
Lorraine.
It's okay.
Ask if
I was
someone
just
can
going to
drive.
ask about the upgrades or updates, whatever. I just had a little look at my about to see what upgrade I am on or whatever. And you said that we should be going to 2025.1.5, perhaps.
Yep.
Am I looking at the build number? Because mine's 2025-.101.302.135.
That's correct.
How do I go to, how do I upgrade? Is that an
you don't.
automatic thing?
That is correct. Yeah. So your upgrade was the 24th of Feb. So I've been tracking on Excel everyone's upgrades, all our payroll sites, when they've been scheduled, what versions they're scheduled to go on. So yes, you're a February upgrade. You'll get another one in the last week of June.
Last week in June.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
And normally
Thank
with
you.
that, Lorraine, Ben from Help Desk will actually send you an email and say, hey, guess what? We're about to go through an upgrade process. And if you need it, there's a sandbox available for you to do testing, because some of the clients have big sites with a lot of integration. And so we do like people to do sandbox testing for those sorts of integrations. And so Ben will always advise you and let you know. And when he does advise you of that update date, if it doesn't suit you, then he can adjust it slightly. However, if yours is the last week of June, we won't be adjusting it.
Fair enough. I want to sort of leave it to the first week
Last
in July
minute.
just to find out that everything's just going to blow up
Yeah.
and all my
No,
funds are not right. And
appreciate you checking that, because it's important to try and get on this stuff as soon as you can.
yes, great.
But
Yeah,
also
thank-
reminding you that the compliance, that's the grace period of the compliance, that we don't have to panic. If something, for whatever reason, means that you haven't got your upgrade by the 1st of July, that's fine. It will happen within that first week anyway. So that's what the compliance grace period's all about as well.
Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
The ATO have actually indicated to MYOB that in this first year, they will not be as stringent. But I think after July 2027, we better be on the game and really on the ball with everything that we need to do. Any other questions? Oh, sorry, Tonya.
If I could just thank you, Lorraine, for raising that. So within Acumatica, you can look through your tools and help and about to see what version you're on, or even your login screen. I do know myself, I've got several monitors, and one of my monitors doesn't show me the bottom section of my login screen, but it will show you the version that you're on. So if any of you have any concerns, have a look at your version number on your login screen. It's at the very bottom of the screen. Reach out and we can let you know in terms of your upgrade. But there are still a number of upgrades left to go. We tried to ensure that our bigger sites were in that late May, June period. So you would only have one upgrade to go through, or even some of our newer sites, because you're already on a newer version, that's been pushed out to June. But that's how you can check what version you're on.
Oh, hold on. I might have missed the chat. Bear with me. Let me just check my chat. I was trying to take people off mute.
Payroll just saying that it'll send through the information.
Okay, that's fine. Any other questions? Any other questions about payroll that you're happy to talk about? And we are recording this, so that you are happy to have on a recording as well. Otherwise, I think we've managed to do it within time. Amazing, which is very good.
Absolutely. But just also, if I can say, we have had a number of clients reach out. We've been doing some one-on-one sessions with them to get them through the process using that batch process, superannuation batch process screen that Louise was talking about. because I haven't used it in the past, there's a bit of history there. We've been doing some tidy up work, helping clients register for Pay Super. So if you are interested, please reach out. We've been doing a lot of this lately, and just organise us to schedule in a time that works.
Yeah, I was going to say, with registering for MYOB Pay Super, they're not exactly fast at actioning forms. So if you want to start using it, you probably should register for Pay Super now. And whether you choose to use it beforehand or whether you just start using it in the new financial year, that's your choice. But if you want to actually start using it, and look, it really is a good facility, then I would say to you, start the process now of registering and consider your monthly limit, because one of the biggest problems that we probably have with the superannuation payments is that as part of the registration process, you actually have to record what your monthly limit is, which I don't know why you would need to do that, but the monthly limit gets set, and then 1 month you have a big commission payout, or you have a 5-week, 5 pay week cycle in the month. You'll then hit your limit. And so do consider those limits carefully, and chat to us if you need to have a discussion around what that Pay Super limit should be in the Pay Super functionality. No other questions. So I would say, well done, Tonya and Louise. Well done. Thank you. And
Yes.
we look forward to catching up with you in the, well, I hope that I will see you. Maybe that's a better way of putting it. And I'll just flick back aside on the 17th of June when we run the end of year session, because I think there's a whole lot of things that help you with that reconciliation process and finalisation of STP. So we'd love you to come along. We run these sessions and we're really excited when we have people in the room. So good to see you all, and we'll all say thank you.
Thank you. Definitely.
And I'll end the event now.